Next up, Section 6, Subsection D here, Objections. Objections are any reason why you could object to the sale, and you need to put this in the contract before you submit it. This is really important if your people want to use the house for something other than living in. These objections can vary quite drastically in different kinds of contracts, but this is a 1-to-4 residential contract. So the typical objections here would include things that HOAs might not allow, or just the city might have not allowed due to certain zoning requirements. Some familiar things that I've seen here is, if you notice right here, the buyer may object, which my client can object to the writing defects, blah, 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 blah. Basically, I can get out of this contract if the following uses are prohibited. So let's say that I wanted to have a daycare here. I could write in here, like, I want to operate a daycare, okay? Some crazier things that I've seen, if the HOA wants, I want to have a windmill, because I'm going to use the wind power to electric my house. You can put that in there, windmill installation. You can put whatever basically that's normal in here that would restrict you from buying the house. It would prevent your buyer from saying, hey, look, I really want to run a daycare out of this house. I want to put a contract on it. I'm going to go do my due diligence with the city, make sure it's zoned to where I can run a daycare out of it. If I can't run a daycare out of here, I get an option to back out of here. So that's a really important thing to put in here if you're going to use it something other than just living. And then the second thing is you have to put a date in here. Typically, I would put something beyond the option period. The option period, it's pretty nice to keep it as a shorter term. That way the contract seems a little bit more attractive to the seller. You don't want a 3-month option period, which we'll talk more about that later. But if you're looking for an objection period, I like to put that one pretty much at closing date or a couple days beforehand, so that way it gives us plenty of time to back out should we not be able to use the property for what we would like to use it for. You'll see some crazy stuff in the farm and land and unimproved contracts where, I want to be able to make a sand mine on it. I want to be able to drill for oil. You can put all kinds of different objections in there depending on what that is. But here, it's going to be things usually affected by the HOA, or it's going to be things affected by zoning in which somebody would want to use that property. Subsection 6E, title notices. Abstract or title policy, again, read through all of this. This doesn't have a lot to do with you filling out the contract, and you should have read through this when you did all of your school work to get your license, so I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but the one thing that you can see, it's at the bottom of this page, and as they do different revisions, it does bump it up or down, so pay attention to where this is. But this is important. Membership in a property owners association. This is a big deal, guys. Please do not overlook something being in an HOA. There's all kinds of different property associations, but you want to make sure you notate whether or not it's here, because your client will be obliged to pay assessments to the Property Owners Association. There's all kinds of rules, and they vary from, I can't even begin to start with all the different changes that can happen with this. It's really important, if you're representing a buyer, that they know what they're getting into. You need to get those HOA docs. You need to make sure that they review them, that they're comfortable with them, because different HOAs have different standards. Some of them will only allow you to paint your house certain colors. Some of them will only allow you to plant certain trees. Some of them, there's all kinds of crazy rules. So this one, thank goodness, is not in a mandatory membership of HOA. Some of them are. So make sure you look into that. That's really important. Read through all the things that come from this. Through the rest of Section E, there's a lot of different things that are going to be noticed through here that you need to read, but none of them that you can change, that are just important to the contract. But make sure you know for sure if it's in an HOA, and if it is in an HOA, you need to make sure you get those HOA covenants as soon as possible to review those with your client.